Matty Johns on our sister station in Triple M, Sydney, of course, had a fairly strong thought earlier this week on Israel Folau's status in the game. It was discussing Sydney and Greater Western Sydney playing this week's State of Origin. Let's have a listen to what Matty Johns had to say in relation to Israel Folau.
Honestly, I've never come across anyone who gives a rat's about this game. The arrogance of AFL is mind-blowing. They have put this game on to try to steal from State of Origin. Like, seriously? Greater Western Sydney? Israel Folau, let's pull Israel's what money he's getting aside for 1 second, put it in a box at the other side of the room. Forget about that. I feel so sorry for that bloke. He went over there, and mate, now he's just there, just bashing him up and laughing. Even Favola the other day was like, "Oh, Israel." Well, Fev, I'd like to see you take a few hit-ups and do what Israel can do in rugby league. Right, they're laughing. Matthew Lloyd came out from Essendon and said, if he gets on the field again in the first side for Greater Western Sydney, it's a joke, it's tokenism, he doesn't deserve his spot. Well, you guys, the AFL, they're the ones who got him there, righto? And they tried, and they've extracted cheap publicity for him, and now they're trying to throw him on the scrap heap. Israel, come home, brother.
Come home, brother, was the final words there, Gaz. How's Israel travelling? Is it working or not working?
That's the chimp. He probably should stop eating before he starts talking for a start. I love Matty Johns. That's the first time I've heard that. And, in fact, I'd say that's come later than I thought it would from the rugby people. I would have thought the campaign to get Israel back would have started in earnest before now. And maybe it has, and maybe I've missed it, because he hasn't been able to make a mark along the lines of Carmichael Hunt, and he may very well. And I supported the fact that they went after him to give them some presence in that critical market. And he did show a couple of signs that suggested if he was willing to stick at it and hang in there and train and push through it, and I don't know how hard he trains and how hard he works and how much time he dedicates to the craft.
Well, what signs were they, Gary? Seriously, what signs has he showed at AFL level?
There was a game where he came, I can't remember, I watched it.
Hawthorn game. He took a couple of marks.
No, mate.
He took some marks. He took 2 or 3 marks.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking...
Well, 43. You said what were the signs that I just said?
You were talking 2 or 3 marks in a 13-round season.
Not just marks. The
Now,
way he took them.
From an NRL perspective, Matt Johns is absolutely spot on.
I agree.
Yeah,
He is
true.
bunking up the NRL, and he is spot on. But the knock-on effect of what Israel Folau did is not his ability on the football field. It was to gain some mileage and some public relations, and that has been known from day one. And he probably won't go any further, and he might go home, but it's probably had the desired effect, if you call Greater West Sydney coming onto the scene up there with any great effect. That's what they did it for in the first place, and everyone knows
yes,
that.
That is 100% right and acknowledged. But Damo, 43, has been probably the most outspoken critic of the whole Carmichael Hunt Israel Folau experiment. And you said exactly the same thing about Carmichael Hunt. Now, have you and will you concede that he is now a worthy member of the AFL side and making a meaningful contribution?
I will concede he's a worthy member of a very poor team.
Okay.
And I'll also...
He's got you there.
I will also say, Gary...
Zing!
I'll also say
many
that...
sides would he get a
Don't
game
for a
in?
minute try and... No,
How many sides would Carmichael Hunt
None.
get a game in?
2?
No, none.
Chief?
Be honest, Chief.
At the moment,
GWS and
I don't know if
Gold
he'd play every week, but there'd be four or
he's
five
a
sides.
starting
If he,
mid-
4 or 5.
He's a starting midfielder, Damo.
4 or 5, Chief. There you go.
Well, that's not bad.
4 or 5.
Well, for a man who's been playing the game for 5 minutes.
And for a man who's getting $1.4 million. You have to factor that in, Gary.
No, you
most
don't.
of it's
you do.
marketing.
You do not have to factor that in, Warrior.
Of course you have to factor
You don't.
it in.
I tell you what you factor in. How much of that money is being put aside for marketing purposes? He is paid over and above. He's repaid them so many times in terms of the marketing value. And then you allocate his wage, which would be about $185,000.
It's about the average. It's about $250.
Right,
So I'll give you. Okay,
and he's earning that.
He's
earning
I
that.
admire what he's done. Don't get me wrong. I
So
admire
you were
what
wrong
come
on that.
No way.
Yes,
no,
you were.
Not yet.
You admire,
I admire what he's
you
doing.
admire his endeavour.
I admire the fact he's taken a real punt at the time of his life where he was flying in 2 other rugby codes.
Did you mean to say that?
Yeah, he's taken a real punt. It was a real risk. I mean, he left the code at which he was in the top 5 in, and any person who knows
and
rugby
he's
league...
making a damn good fist of his AFL career.
I'd say he's making an okay fist
He's
of it,
making
Garry.
a damn good fist, that young
You know
man.
he's not going that
I
well.
do think he's
and
going...
for anyone to say that he's made it and it's proof that
I
everyone's
haven't
wrong...
said he's made it.
Jason,
Can we quantify?
I think you said he wouldn't play more than 5 games.
I don't say
Is
that. I don't think that's
AFL
No,
in Greater
I
West
don't think he
Sydney
did say
and
that.
on the Gold Coast making bigger inroads now that those boys are there, or is anyone watching the games? Is it people talking about AFL in those specific areas? Because that's what it was designed
I've
to
been
do.
to both those areas in the past month, and
No one could give a...
I don't think they can. I
No,
really
they
don't care.
can't.
I don't think they care anymore. Look, the AFL will argue that it's already got its PR value out of both of those
Exactly.
sides.
And they have.
And no one's going to dispute
Oh,
that.
so
And
they're
that's
worth
the bigger
money.
picture.
Chief,
Now you're saying they're worth it.
Well, hang on. We went to a game 2 weeks ago in
What a fun
GWS, and there was
time we had.
7,000 people.
Well, it was raining.
There was 7,000 people there. So Carmichael, and he couldn't even play.
It'll be very hard. I don't know how long it'll take. It might take forever. It'll be very hard to knock NRL out of Queensland and New South Wales, and it'll be impossible for the NRL to knock the AFL out of Western Australia, South Australia and Victoria
course.
and Tasmania,
Yeah, of
and it'll
course.
probably stay like that forever.
Do you think Carmichael Hunt has made it?
Yeah. Yeah, I reckon it's been a great story. I've seen them
Cop that
about
Walker.
8 times this year.
You're on the AFL payroll.
Cop that, Walker.
That is ridiculous.
Oh, that's a low blow from you, 43.
You just want to watch your status where you're going at the moment. You might get whacked in a minute.
I'm not sure he's made it yet.
Not made it, but I reckon
Thank you, Chief.
he's actually had a young man called Harley Bennell move into his house. He's turned his future. You speak to the Gold Coast
He's an
people.
ambassador.
He's a
Yeah.
great individual within the football
is.
club.
A great
He's got
landlord.
Harley
I'm not
Bennell.
saying he won't make it. I think
He's living with a teammate. Yeah.
He's
doing some good things.
Oh, that's just superficial from you, 43. He's turned that young man around. He's changing
He's
lives.
a leader. He's in the leadership group.
He's a wrecking ball.
He can do that playing rugby league.
No, he
Most
could not.
expensive landlord in the country.